At 3:11 a.m., our hotel printer wakes up by itself and spits out a guest list from rooms that don't exist. I took the night auditor job at the Fairview because 3 a.m. is when no one looks too closely at you. I balance drawers, close batches, babysit a lobby that smells like citrus and old carpet, and keep the coffee alive. If the printer sings, I feed it paper. If the ice machine coughs, I call maintenance and say, "It's doing it again," like I've been here forever. The first time it happened, I was filling the urn. At 3:11 a.m., exactly, the front desk printer woke itself, whirred, and started printing a report I'd never seen. Guest register, overnight roll in an old-fashioned header, names, room numbers, folio notes, just like a real night audit, except our room stopped at 8:14, and this list went to 903, 934, 947. And where it should have said card on file, this one said paid in full all the way down. I checked the PMS. No arrivals, no ghost folios, no test queue. IT shrugged. Stuck spool? When it finished, the printer even spat a tiny receipt copies, one and went back to sleep like a dog kicking in a dream. Night 2, 3:11 again. New names, same impossible rooms, more weird notes under incidentals. Extra blanket to 934. 911 called for 947. Bell cart to 903 use service elevator. Our service elevator doesn't go anywhere near a 9th floor. Then one name hit me like a dropped tray. Harriet Lynn, 947. My aunt. Dead 12 years. The line beside her name, wake-up call, 4:40. Answered. She never stayed at the Fairview. She barely tolerated motels. I took the elevator to 8 and stood under the sealed service stair. Somewhere above, a phone rang once. Then silence. Night 3, I was ready with my phone filming. 3:11 rolls in. The printer starts. Halfway down, I see Jonah Parr, 903. My father, also gone. Next to his name, incidental coffee lobby, 3:28 a.m. At 3:28, our automatic doors parted like someone too light to trigger the sensor had walked in. The lobby smelled like cheap aftershave and burnt percolator coffee from church basements. I poured a cup and set it on the counter. The surface rippled once and went still. "Hey, Dad," I said to no one. A napkin lifted at the corner, like a finger. In the printer queue, that incident cleared. By dawn, I'd decided 2 things can be true. This is a glitch, and I'm not throwing the paper away. Night 4, the roll printed slower, like someone was hand-feeding it through. I made a wild choice. I manually created ghost folios for each 9th floor room in the PMS, so the system would treat them as in-house. It felt like saying, "I see you." Nothing exploded. At 3:19, the service elevator clicked like a tongue and tried to go beyond 8, thunked, then settled. At 3:40, the back wall phone rang without lighting. I answered. A voice like mine whispered through denim, "Wake-up call." "Which room?" The printer spat. 9:47:40 a.m. "Done," I said, finger on a dead button. The line exhaled and ended. At 4:40, the lobby doors breathed. The coffee cooled. The paper finished with a little squeal of satisfaction. When the GM came in, I brought the pages. She didn't touch them. She told me about the time the pool gates unlocked for a swim team that never arrived, and the man in a brown suit who tipped in old coins and asked for a room demolished during renovation. "Hotels run on the past," she said. "Mostly credit. Sometimes other things." After that, it became a ritual. At 3:11, the printer prints. Names I know. Names I'll one day know. Rooms that don't exist. Paid in full. Sometimes the column says late checkout, and I turn the lobby music down like a courtesy. Sometimes do not disturb, and I drop my voice. If my aunt shows up, I set an extra cup. If my dad appears, I tell the empty air he still burns toast. One morning, the report added a new column I'd never seen. Transfers. Beside 903 and 947. Moved to ledger. The paper stock felt older. The ink, browner. The header changed, too. Guest register night roll, old tower. We don't have an old tower anymore. Renovation swallowed it a decade ago. Yet here was a ledger arguing with our blueprints. I tucked that roll under the real night audit and stamped it pending. The day clerk asked why we're suddenly out of paper. Busy week, I said, and meant it. A week later, the printer printed nothing at 311. I stood there, ridiculous, waiting like a lighthouse that no longer has a shore. At 3:13, it woke and produced a single line. Balance for ninth paid in full. Then, quiet. The following night, it returned to normal names, notes, impossible rooms. But mine was there now. Miles par lobby. No room, no folio. Incidentals. Column said, coffee nightly. I poured a cup and laughed soft. Okay, I told the desk. I'm in-house. Now, when guests wander down sleepless at 4, I hand them a coffee and tell them I'm running a weird little experiment with an old printer and a ledger that disagrees with architecture. They smile like I'm doing a bit. Sometimes they flinch when the service elevator tries to go higher than it can. If you ever check in after midnight and your key sleeve accidentally reads 9 instead of 6, don't worry. We don't charge for that floor. If the printer sings at 3:11, that's just me doing roll call. I read the names out loud, even the ones I don't want to see, because arrivals and departures deserve to be witnessed. And if you see paid in full by your own name one day, don't be afraid. It doesn't mean over. It means seen. Like and follow for more files. Ernie for en